Hi, I'm Don Stegall. I've made several videos on shooting Quickie 500 wings over the past couple of years, and they've been viewed a fair number of times on YouTube. I still use the same basic techniques, but I've made some changes in the past year, and I'm doing this video to update the information. I've not shown the entire process of preparing the materials and the other pieces needed to complete the entire process. In this video, I will show how I prepare the carbon fiber, the fiberglass, the wood, and the materials used in the process. This will not be a short video, but I will edit out the repetitive tasks and consuming parts as much as possible. Here's a wing just out of the shucks. One thing I've changed is that I now use carbon fiber laminate on the trailing edge. This is 5 thousandths thick and 1.5 inches wide. It extends back into the aileron and allows for sharper trailing edges than the 1/64 plywood I was using. I also used to put 1.4 ounce cloth on the trailing edge. With the carbon fiber laminate, I don't feel the cloth is necessary, and I can just use the 0.7 ounce cloth entirely on the wing skin. The laminate costs more, but I feel it's worth the extra $5+ per wing. Currently I'm using 7 thousandths thick carbon fiber laminate on the main spars. I've tried 5 thousandths thick on the main spar, and I may switch to that permanently as it saves some weight and I feel like it's still strong enough. One of the challenges of making wings is that suppliers add and drop materials. My primary suppliers are CST, the composite store, ACP Composites, and National Balsa. National Balsa has nice 16th inch skins that are 10.5 inches wide by 48 inches long. I get my carbon fiber laminate from CST. They have 12 inch by 48 inch sheets of unidirectional laminate in 5 thousandths and 7 thousandths thickness. They also have thicker laminates for a variety of applications. I used to buy 50 inch wide 0.7 ounce cloth from CST and the perforated film I use between the balsa and the foam shucks. They no longer have the 50 inch wide cloth in that weight, and the perforated film they carry does not work for me. I get the 50 inch wide 0.7 ounce cloth and porous release film from ACP Composites now. With this release film, I'm typically able to reuse it, which saves a few bucks per wing. With all that being said, I'll now show how I prep the materials. Then I'll sheet the wing and put it in the vacuum pump, and I'll show you what the final result is. One of the luxuries of having a pretty big shop is that I can spread out. I have a number of 2.5 foot by 6 foot plastic folding tables, and I have one table dedicated just to cutting cloth and balsa and whatever I need to cut. These are 24 by 36 inch cutting pads. Got them at Walmart, and I have 2 of them. These are called self-healing mats. You can cut on them. You have to be careful cutting some things on them, otherwise you can cut them a little too deep. But what I'm going to do now is prepare the materials for the wings, and I'm going to start with the carbon fiber. I keep the carbon fiber in cardboard because it tends to roll up. This is the 7 thousandths carbon fiber laminate, and this is 5 thousandths. It has a Teflon backing on it because it's so thin. So what I'm going to do first is cut the 7 thousandths main spars. And I use a 48 and 60 inch aluminum roller while I'm doing this. I'm only going to cut enough materials for 3 wings, so that'll be 6 pieces of 1 inch wide, 7/1000 carbon fiber. And I use a gel pen because the carbon fiber is black and you need something you can see. And I'll let that dry for a few minutes just so I don't smear it all over the place. And what I'm going to do is get my 60-inch ruler . And I put tape on it to hold it in place because as you're cutting this carbon fiber, the carbon fiber has a grain. And we're not interested in high precision, but we need it reasonably close. So with the carbon fiber taped down, I use a utility knife. And I get a nice 1-inch strip. So now I've got 6 1-inch wide pieces of 7/1000 carbon fiber laminate. I'll show cutting it to length after I cut the trailing edge carbon fiber. It's easier to do the cutting to length in one step. So I'm going to put these aside and take up my carbon fiber. You have to be reasonably careful with the carbon fiber laminate because you can break it. I'm just going to leave it laying right there for the time being. On the trailing edge, I'm using 1.5-inch wide pieces. And even though I'm only doing 3 wings, I'm going to go ahead and mark the carbon fiber for 4 pieces, or for 8 pieces for 4 wings. We'll let that dry for a minute. And because the tape gets stuff on it while you're doing one sheet, it's best to switch to a new set of pieces of tape to hold it down. The 5/1000 thick carbon fiber tends to split a little bit, and it doesn't exactly follow the grain, and it's got that Teflon cloth on the back, so you won't get exactly 1.5 inch wide pieces or whatever size you're trying to cut in general. So now I've got 8 pieces of 5/1000 carbon fiber. It's going to have to be trimmed because at this end it's got a little fold over. The 5/1000 has that, currently at least. And the thing I'll do is use a 48-inch ruler to mark the length, and then I'll cut them. But I'm going to take a break and then I'll mark them and cut all the carbon fiber to length. To cut the carbon fiber to length, what I do is use a 48-inch ruler and a gel pen, and I mark it good. And on the trailing edge carbon fiber, I do the same thing. As you can see, it's a little longer than 48 inches. The other end is straight, but this end has a little lip on it. And I'll do all the pieces, but with that line on there, what I found is best is just use a pair of scissors that don't have to remain sharp because the carbon fiber will dull them. And you just cut carbon fiber to length. And that's all there is to getting it sized properly. And now I just need to do the rest of it. This is the pattern I use for marking the wood and for cutting the fiberglass cloth to size. It's 10 1/4 by 48 inches long. It has holes in it that I use to mark the wood with. But for this step, I'm just cutting the cloth. And I roll it out and leave approximately an inch on each side. I'm using an Alpha rotary cutter. These cutters are great for cutting fiberglass cloth when you have a cutting mat. And I fold the cloth up so it doesn't get tangled up. I'll do another piece. This is 0.7 ounce cloth. I put it under the skin on each side of the wing. So that's one set, and I've got 2 more to do. The next step is to mark the wing skins. I like to know exactly where I'm putting the carbon fiber laminate, and what I do is look at the skin, pick the best side for the outside, and put it down. I'm going to take my pattern and line it up to the trailing edge. And I check the front to make sure that there's some wood sticking out, because with the carbon fiber leading edges, the width of this pattern is the no-go width. I need at least 10 1/4 inches. So what I do is I mark the spar locations and the trailing edge. And I don't use the back hole anymore because I'm covering over it, so it doesn't matter. I used to use a thin Sharpie, but the only time somebody's going to see the inside of the wing is after a crash, and it's more convenient to be able to see where the spar goes than worrying about having a light pin mark. So the wing has the marks for the main spar and where the trailing edge piece goes. And I just need to do 5 more of those and I'll be ready for my 3 wings. The next step is to make sure the core is ready. If you get coarse from me, I usually try to trim the feather off of the trailing edge. Sometimes I forget, but for any wings I make, obviously I have to trim it myself. On the 66012, it needs to be 9 5/16. And it's real thin there, so it really doesn't matter if you get it exactly right or not, but I'll have to get as close as possible. Alright, using the rotary cutter, all you have to do is roll down the straight edge. And it comes right off. You may want to lightly sand the core using some 220 paper. My cores are generally pretty smooth and don't require much sanding, but there are little hairs on it. So on this one I see some, so I'll buff it with some 220 before I actually start the layup. On the carbon fiber leading edge, I need something disposable to be able to wet out the carbon fiber toe. I have 12-foot wide plastic, and I cut it to about 7 to 8 inches wide. And then I cut it in the middle, so I have 2 6-foot sections. Fold that back up, put it over here with the materials. Then I cut the carbon fiber toe for the leading edge. On the carbon fiber toe, I cut it to about 52 inches long. So I use 3 pieces of 50K toe for the leading edge, and I'll just leave it sitting right here. The other thing is that I use porous release film between the balsa and the foam. I get this particular film from ACP Composites. I'm generally able to reuse it, so that's kind of nice. Saves a few bucks per wing. But the nice thing about it is it lets the airflow and the vacuum work really well, and you don't have any spots where you don't get adhesion. So the parts are ready for one wing. I'll cut the carbon fiber toe as I do the other wings. I'm only going to cut one right now. So the next thing to do is to actually lay up the wing and put it together.